UFOs, unidentified flying objects. UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Are we alone in this universe? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. I am going to share, however, some pieces of interesting revelations that have become mainstream as of late, as it relates to the possibility of us not being alone in the universe, of aliens actually existing. So recently there was a long, well, not long, a 60-minute special that was 60 minutes long related to UFOs, which, full disclosure, I have not seen, but from clips that I've seen and my understanding of how that series was compiled, it was rolled up from a bunch of different events that I am familiar with, such as the work of journalist and documentarian Jeremy Corbell, with Bob Lazar, who used to work in Area 51 or a site off of Area 51, which I believe was called S4, as well as Commander David Fravber's incident with the tic-tac shaped UFO off the coast of California. Commander David Fravber is like the real life version of like Tom Cruise's character, is like a Top Gun fighter pilot jet person. And they also use interviews with Luis Elizondo, for example, etc., etc. So I'm going to touch on some of those things. The New York Times put out an article written by Helen Cooper, Ralph Blumenthal, and Leslie Keane on December 16th, 2017, which outlined several things, and I took down some bullet points that I felt worth sharing. And this article, along with a few other articles and videos and interviews, I'm going to link to in the episode notes in case you guys want to dive a little deeper and have a look for yourselves. And again, I'm going to be quoting from this New York Times article written on December 16th, 2017. There was a $600 billion with a B annual Defense Department budget, $22 million of which was spent on a secret government program known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, aka ATIP. It was run by military intelligence official Luis Elizondo on the 5th floor of the Pentagon's C Ring, deep within the building's maze. Prior to this, the Defense Department has never before acknowledged the existence of the program, and since it has said that it was shut down in 2012. But backers of the program state that even though the Pentagon did end the funding for it in 2012, the program still very much so remains in existence. And a little background on the program, it states the shadowy program, parts of which remain classified, began in 2007, and initially it was largely funded at the request of Harry Reid, which was the then Senate Majority Leader. And I've seen like interviews and clips and stuff with Senator Harry Reid, and he was like very much so into like UFOs and believes aliens exist, etc. Then the article goes on to say most of the money went to an aerospace research company run by billionaire entrepreneur and a longtime friend of Harry Reid, which is Robert Bigelow. Robert Bigelow is also currently working with NASA to produce expandable crafts for humans to use in space. Robert Bigelow is like an eccentric billionaire, interesting character. If you're interested in looking deeper into him, he was on Rogan's podcast, episode number 1612. He is definitely a believer that aliens exist, but a little like too sure of it for my taste, because it's like there's no absolute evidence, at least that the mass public knows, right? There's no like without a doubt concrete evidence that one can point to. So you can either believe or not believe, but he has like this sort of, he comes off anyway as having this sort of not just belief, but like certainty about it. And he's almost like proselytizing. How do you say that word? I don't know. He's like a strong advocate for it. Anyway, I digress. Bigelow does say, and this is part of the article, that internationally we are the most backward country in the whole world on this issue. Mr. Bigelow said in an interview, our scientists are scared of being ostracized, and our media is scared of the stigma. China and Russia are much more open and work on this with huge organizations within their countries. Smaller countries like Belgium, France, England, and South American countries like Chile are more open too. They are proactive and willing to discuss this topic rather than being held back by a juvenile taboo, which I'm all for, right? Like, the only way you get anywhere with anything in terms of like figuring shit out or handling problems within one another or just getting to the source of truth is by discussion, by interaction, not by just like shunning something and pretending it doesn't exist. So that's definitely like a practical statement that he made. Anyway, going back to the article, officials with the program have also studied videos of encounters between unknown objects and American military aircraft, including one released in August of a whitish oval object about the size of a commercial plane chased by two Navy FA-18F fighter jets from the aircraft carrier Nimitz off the coast of San Diego in 2004. Now, this was the event with Commander David Fravor, which I referenced earlier. And here's a quote from a Time article that came out on this. In 2004, Commander David Fravor witnessed what came to be known as the Tic Tac UFO incident on a training run over the Pacific Ocean, 140 miles southwest of San Diego. At the time, he was stationed aboard the USS Nimitz as the commanding officer or Strike Fighter Squadron 41, also known as the Black Aces. The incident broke into the mainstream media after the New York Times republished a story reported by fellow UFO festival presenter and investigative journalist George Knapp. Now, Fravor's encounter of this, he states that he was on a routine training mission off the coast of California in 2004 when his unit was directed to go and examine strange unidentified objects that were descending from 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet and then disappearing. And they were doing so in like seconds. So it's something that and this is almost a direct quote, I'm paraphrasing, Luis Elizondo, who again was running ATIP, who again was the military intelligence officer running ATIP, he stated that no known technology that we as the United States, but like scientific world included, that we do not have in our inventory. Like, we don't have any like ship or plane or vehicle that is able to maneuver in this fashion from 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet in a matter of seconds and then disappearing. So going back to this, upon flying 60 miles to the location, Fravor says he saw a Tic Tac shaped object 40 feet long with no wings, just hanging close to the water. And Commander David Fravor, by the way, was also on Rogan's podcast, episode 1361, if you want to have a deeper listen. But he was also one of the videos that were corroborated by the Pentagon as being actual video footage that they can't explain. And then coupled with Commander David Fravor's coming forth with this information, which, by the way, he's not like some quack pilot guy. He's like the elite of the elite that has never spoken about or ever had any experiences related to UFOs. He was actually reluctant to come forward with this information because he knows the stigma behind it and it would stain his otherwise decorated military career. But it was such a huge revelation that he came out with it anyway, or decided to come out with it rather. There is video of this. It's radar video from the plane where the radar was actually able to lock on to this thing that was flying and track it as long as the radar mechanisms were able to do so. Again, video link to in the episode notes. It was really interesting shit. And to hear Fravor speak about it, he says that not only was it going from like 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet and then disappearing and stuff like that, it was maneuvering in weird ways. It was going and stopping within a second. It was traveling super fast, faster than, again, any vehicles that we have. There's no visual propulsion systems, like no boosts or fire or anything. And I don't remember if it was Fravor's video or another video that was corroborated by the Pentagon, but there was also a video where they're stating that these things often come around and they go into the water. So it's like flying through air, going through our oceans, apparently, potentially able to fly through space. And it's fucking wild. Apparently it was also jamming his radar, which is thought of as an act of war, or it's considered an act of war. There was also a situation, which again, I'm not sure if this was Fravor's situation or the other one, but where like pilots have a like secret rendezvous longitude and latitude where they're supposed to meet once they go up and fly. And this aircraft went to that location, which again is like a secret. Nobody knows it but the pilot and I guess base or mission control or whatever you call those folks. So that's just fucking wild and just so damn interesting. If you're not interested in this stuff, I mean, I get it, I guess, but you're fucking weird. Now, just a couple more things on the topic, some speculation and just some random thoughts. An interesting stat that I heard was, or is rather, that the deepest part, just to put things in a bit of context, the deepest part of any of our oceans is the Mariana Trench, which is in the Western Pacific Ocean. And it's about 7 miles deep. That's like 35,000 feet. And just to put it into context with like space and the universe, the deepest part of our ocean is 35,000 feet deep. And we, as human beings, have not been able to explore more than 5% of our oceans. So over 95% of our oceans has never been explored. Like, we don't have the capabilities to. So knowing that fact and just projecting, like, imagine like how many different like fish and creatures and octopus and shit are in the ocean that we haven't even discovered yet. Applying that to like outer space and the vastness that we know that is, to me is just like a no-brainer. Like, that's why I believe there's something, must be something. Now, if they're coming by and going into our oceans and fucking with fish and shit, I don't know. That would explain fucking squids and octopus to me. If you guys haven't seen, like, there's literally, you guys should definitely Google this, and I'll see if I can find like a good clip to put in the ocean. But like, octopus have this ability to like blend in with their environment, but it's not just like, picture like an octopus that you would draw like when you were a kid or something like this. Big circle head with like 8 arms and tentacles and fucking suction cups on all the arms and stuff. Picture that type of octopus squid looking thing. That can literally turn into the shape of a jagged rock and change its color, but not only its color, but its texture, to literally turn into that rock. Like, not the same exact size as he is, but smaller, bigger. It's just fucking wild. It, like, if you see it, you think it's like CGI and like some like fake photographic fuckery type of thing. But you can literally see videos of these animals doing this wild shit. And it's pretty fucking nuts. It looks alien as fuck to me. But yeah, I don't know. If they are coming, if aliens are coming and like starting to visit, or they have in the past and we just haven't been told about it, it makes sense. Like, I was thinking, like, would people, like alien people or life forms or whatever, be on these ships? It kind of makes sense in the like estimates of Commander David Fravor that it was like some sort of ship or vessel that was like 40 feet long. But I have heard, like, again, corroborated encounters of legit unidentified sightings of things that were just like 6 feet wide or something like that. So to me, it's like, maybe it's not actual beings coming over, but rather like their version of drones. But who knows? And then the beef that I have with all this is like, in situations like Commander David Fravor and stuff like this, and there's folks that explain why like the footage and the video looks like so grainy and so shitty, because all of these like types of footages like look like shit, right? And it's because it's captured by multiple different mechanisms on the plane. It's like radar and sonar is not the right word, but there's like different mechanisms, radio waves, that are used to lock onto this object and capture it. My question, my beef is, why can't they strap on a fucking GoPro on that shit as well, you know, and get us some like legit dope looking footage? Especially if it's like one of the encounters with military, they say that there's like a nuclear facility nearby and that they always see these things like flying around there. So it's like, if it constantly happens, like, try to get some legit footage. But who knows? Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. Anyway, the last thing I'll say on this is that there is a deadline coming up. And if I'm not mistaken, this is something that was written into the COVID relief bill. And the deadline is coming up where the Pentagon has to, by late June, issue an unclassified report to Congress on all that they know on UFO sightings. Will they actually do it? Will it be a legit report? Where they still hide some shit? We probably wouldn't have a way of knowing. But that is out there, and I'm interested to see what comes from that in late June. And to quote the movie Contact, which I believe was quoting Carl Sagan, if we are alone in the universe, what an awful waste of space.